It's Wednesday, the 26th of February 2025. Welcome to the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed, where we give you the top 5 business stories you need to know in just 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and good morning, Sean Aylmer.
Good morning, Michael.
Sean, 5 stories, 5 minutes. Let's go. Story number 1. There is growing nervousness among investors about the performance of the ASX over the next 6 months, with fears about US tariffs combining with uncertainty in Europe and falls in local bank stocks to trigger forecasts of a correction in markets.
The local share market is up just 1% this year, down more than 3% over the past week. The big banks and miners are leading the way lower. There's a bunch of events hurting sentiment at the moment, both locally and internationally. Investors don't like uncertainty, and that's what markets are experiencing in the US. All sorts of talk about tariffs, the relations between the US and Europe, what's going to happen around China, Mexico and Canada in terms of protection, tariffs again. There's massive proposed spending cuts from the Department of Government Efficiency. Talks that Washington is already in a recession as a result of that. This is hitting business and consumer sentiment. The S&P 500, it's up 2% this year, but last week suffered its steepest fall since mid-December. The Magnificent 7 tech stocks, think Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, etc., they're wobbling. Locally, the share market began the year relatively expensive, and as earnings season rolls on and companies miss profit expectations, there are some very big sell-offs in recent weeks. There's been sell-offs in companies in energy, in quick service restaurants, think Guzman, for example, engineering, minerals, technology, a lot of sell-off, a lot of companies being sold down.
Yeah, Sean, you always talk about uncertainty and just how much investors do hate that. Are you saying then that the market will fall?
Well, I mean, I wish I knew. Shane Oliver from AMP, generally he's pretty upbeat about the market. 12 months outlook, he says it'll be higher, but it's going to be a rough ride. In fact, he said you could get a 15% correction along the way. That is quite the slide if it happened.
Yeah, certainly is. And of course, we are not an investing podcast, and you should seek professional advice before making investment decisions. On to story number 2 now, Sean. Domino's Pizza Enterprises has recorded its first loss in 20 years as the new chief executive clears the cupboards, or in this case, closes stores, in an effort to rebuild the struggling fast food group.
It shut more than 200 stores, wrote off $100 million. Most of that was from Japan, made a loss of $22.2 million for the 6 months to the end of December. That sent its share price down 11%. The new CEO, Mark van Dijk, took over from longtime boss Don May in November. He's been closing stores. They now have about 3,700 stores, including about 1,500 in Japan and France, where most of the troubles for them are. In Australia, earnings are up 8%. On the revenue side, Domino is pushing for more value-oriented products. One worth mentioning, snack-sized pizza pots, basically the same size as a muffin.
Actually sounds quite tasty. Story number 3, Sean. Buy Now, Pay Later group Zip has reported record earnings and says it's growing faster than competitors in the US, including Block's Cash App, Affirm and Klarna.
Cash earnings more than doubled in the 6 months to the end of December. Its share price jumped 14% yesterday. Interestingly, Block bought Afterpay. It disappointed. Its share price tumbled 18%. What Zip's saying is that its number of transactions grew sharply, especially in the US. It's attracting young female users more than other demographics, and it's outperforming its competitors in that area. It's also introducing something called Pay in 8. It's basically a platform for more expensive goods, so you've got 8 payments, not 4.
Story number 4, President Donald Trump has deepened Washington's split with allies over Ukraine, withdrawing US condemnation of Russia's 2022 invasion at the United Nations and among the Group of 7 nations as well.
The US and Russia both voted against a European-backed resolution in the UN General Assembly that calls out Moscow's full-scale invasion, that's a phrase. 3 years ago, the two sides later aligned for the first time since the war started in the Security Council to approve a US resolution calling for a swift end to the conflict without assigning blame, a stark reversal from policy under President Joe Biden. That comes as the G7 also struggled to issue a joint statement on the anniversary of the war after the US opposed phrasing condemning Moscow that echoed previous language from the group, according to Bloomberg.
Last one, story number 5. This story is just really extraordinary. Thieves, Sean, who stole a gold toilet valued at £4.8 million, or 9.6 million Aussie dollars from Blenheim Palace, completed the audacious raid in just 5 minutes.
5 men are accused of stealing the 18-carat gold toilet from the home west of London just days after it was installed as artwork in September 2019. The fully functioning loo, entitled America, has never been recovered. It's believed to have been split up and disposed of. Oxford Crown Court was told of a carefully planned burglary that would not have been possible without lots of preparation. In fact, it's alleged that 5 men drove through locked wooden gates onto the grounds of Blenheim Palace shortly before 5 a.m. They're in stolen vehicles. They allegedly drove across a field up to the front steps and smashed and broke in through a window. They then broke down the wooden door to the cubicle where the golden toilet was fully plumbed in. They removed it, leaving water pouring out of pipes, and then drove away.
There you go. There's nothing more that you can say, Sean, after that one. Top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael.
It is Wednesday, the 26th of February, 2025. Remember to hit follow on the podcast. And if 5 minutes isn't enough, you can find our longer daily show called Fear and Greed, wherever you listen to podcasts. And because it is Wednesday, there is a new episode of our sister podcast, How Do They Afford That, out. I'll put a link in today's show notes. Today is all about how you can use ChatGPT to save money on your household grocery bill. It is a must listen. I'm Michael Thompson, and that was the Fast 5 Business News by Fear and Greed. Have a great day.